Is the Commerce Commission about to stifle tech investment in New Zealand?
Like I said, the effect is massively chilling on tech investment.
Serato is a local tech company that makes popular DJ software and music tools.
Steve and I would show each other stuff that we were tinkering with in between, helping people with their assignments.
But then we suddenly had a business, which we hadn't really intended to do.
Last year, they announced the sale of their company to a Japanese electronics giant for more than $100 million. But the deal has come under scrutiny from the competition watchdog after opposition to it was lodged by US-based In Music, a Serato customer.
The Commerce Commission has to pick a side and rely on economists and their business maths, and I think they get the wrong answer.
A final decision on whether the deal will be allowed to go ahead is expected June 27, but it looks unlikely the ComCom will allow it after earlier this year raising several concerns it could weaken competition.
It doesn't even make sense that they're looking at this deal.
Tired and confused by a process which has dragged on for about a year, Serato has hit back in a strongly worded letter to the ComCom, raising fears that blocking the deal could send shockwaves through broader tech investment in New Zealand.
We felt that the statement of issues and the statement of unresolved issues were pretty much the same document. Yep. Mm-hmm. Seemed like nothing that we'd said had moved the dial. And so our latest submission is not there to provide any more evidence, because we feel like we've provided really great evidence as to why this deal should go through. And so our latest submission is more just like an exception list, pointing out where we think they've erred and why we think that what we've already provided should be sufficient to clear the deal.
So what are some of the main areas in which they've erred, do you think?
Well, I mean, one of the things about it is that they're here to protect the New Zealand consumer, and we do something like 365,000 a year, so like a day's trade for a supermarket, and it doesn't even make sense that they're looking at this deal. It's become about a more of a commercial issue between big international players than about protecting the New Zealand consumer.
But you say, you think that's outside their remit, basically?
I mean, I think it's right for them to have a look. I think they need to investigate the complaint. Mm-hmm. But, when you look at where the complaint's coming from, you understand why they don't want their, big brother competition to buy one of their partners. But it's not really convincing. Nothing that they've accepted as interesting evidence points to damage to the consumer. There doesn't seem to be any merit or strength to those arguments.
Yeah, and in a way the Commerce Commission seems a bit hamstrung by not even being able to consider the commercial arrangements, the contractual arrangements that we put in place to prevent any kind of anti-competitive behaviour in the future.
So you've deliberately tried to safeguard against that stuff anyway?
Yeah, I mean, not because we didn't trust ATC, but because that was just a bottom line for us.
Yeah,
it was important to us, and we went into all of our negotiations with that attitude, and met no resistance whatsoever from ATC. They're on the same page. Mm-hmm. So, in a way, it seems strange to be for the Commerce Commission to be punishing ATC for some future crime. There's nothing. There is no anti-competitive behaviour. They're punishing them for the potential. The potential for which would put them in breach of so many contracts. Yeah. But Commerce Commission can't consider that.
And we structured the deal such that our personal financial incentive, the earnout that happens later on, is based upon them continuing the business as is and keeping the business as profitable as it currently is, based on keeping those partnerships alive, and specifically ruling out that as a possibility. And for some reason, the Commerce Commission still are able to say that the possibility of foreclosing on their rivals is some kind of real thing, whereas they wouldn't be able to do it, at least not for 5 years, without basically us having right to completely enforce that legally.
Okay.
And of course, 5 years in the tech space is an eternity. And we're already seeing the apps on tablets and phones growing. What will be the case in 5 years' time? Who knows? But we've seen in virtually every other application has migrated to tablets, and where there's so many options to choose from. Seems to be this massive overestimation of our market power. If we'd been able, if we have so much market power, why have we never put our prices up?
Serato doesn't believe that this issue is within the Commerce Commission's remit.
These guys have spent a lot of time on this issue, which seems like a very small issue for New Zealand Commerce Commission to be looking at, given the size of the New Zealand market for DJ. But they've spent a lot of time trying to understand it. But I think the tech sector is actually quite a difficult one to regulate, because it does change so quickly. And, things don't change this quickly in farming or supermarkets, but in software, 2 years is an eternity. And the barrier to entry for new players, basically, here's the thing that they're trying to protect from is two things. One, Alpha Theta Corporation saying, that's enough, no more competition for us, and cutting off the other hardware rivals, which, like we said, is completely prohibited. And the other thing they want to protect from is ATC then hiking up the prices because they feel like they've got a dominant position in the market. And the barrier to entry for new software players is so low that that would be a suicidal move. Right. And it's easy for us in business to understand why that would be crazy, but the Commerce Commission has to pick a side and rely on economists and their business maths, and I think they get the wrong answer.
And like you say, with technology, phones, etc., those barriers to entry are presumably getting easier every day as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing they're buying with Serato is an enormous amount of goodwill.
Yeah.
We have what people call a love brand. We have a huge loyal following, and you can destroy that really easily by misbehaving. And if they did things like cut out their rivals and raise their prices, that would be destroyed in a moment. And so it doesn't matter how you calculate what you think the incentives are. It's a crazy business move that they didn't have any interest in executing on the first place, and we have prohibited in the agreements. So we're just in this weird position where...
On the other side, though, does that goodwill, that love brand, does that perhaps increase the stickiness and maybe go against the low barrier to entry argument at all in terms of people?
Well, that is one of the arguments, is that our software is so popular. That's what the other guys are saying, is that there is no way to move people from our brand. But our counter argument to that is that it is because we treat them well. Right. It's not because our software is magically better for some reason, or that it's an actual religion. We actually have a customer first focus in our business, and there's no barrier to entry to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Other people could do that.
Any business that wants to compete with us could be nice to their customers.
Serato are now having to consider whether or not the deal will even go ahead and what that might mean for their business.
Just the fact that there wasn't much change between the statement of issues and the statement of unresolved issues tells us that there's not much movement towards the outcome we'd like. So just reading the tea leaves, we have to, assume that it's not going that way.
Yeah.
We would love it to, and they've got the opportunity to make the right decision come the 27th of June. But we won't be pulling out of the process. We would like them to make the decision and explain, why it is that this deal can't go ahead, and we can take it from there and potentially appeal it or.
Yeah. So what avenues do you have? An appeal, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seriously looked into what comes out after this. We've been so focused on, this process. It's been a little bit disheartening to receive this latest statement.
Yeah.
So I guess we want to see what they will say on the 27th, and then we'll take it from there.
I think it sends, but if they did prevent the deal from going ahead, it's going to send a pretty chilling message to the tech industry in New Zealand. If you're working in tech in New Zealand and your business is growing, then get out now while you still can. Yeah, that's the message, because this deal is being punished for being too successful. We're being punished as a company for being too successful.
And it's kind of short-sighted as well. The long-term benefits to the consumer really, with the deal with Alpha Theta are so much more than what we would be able to do on our own. The collaboration possibility, we've got the protections in place. To follow on from Steve's idea, like if a tech company like ours, which operates in a global market, wants to either exit or seek investment, then you've got a couple of options. You can go with a financial buyer like a private equity, or you can go with somebody in the industry. And somebody in the industry is going to be the ultimate sell point anyway. For if private equity buys you, their purpose is to make it as efficient as possible, and then do what you could have done in the first place, but at a higher rate. And so, the ability for a New Zealand-based company to have their final exit is seriously jeopardised by the approach of the Commerce Commission, but also just by the laws that are in place at the moment. Like Steve was saying, they're not even allowed to consider the protections that we put in place, which are as robust as you can make them.
Yeah, so it's a very unsophisticated approach, and so any kind of transaction like this is far more likely to go ahead in an overseas jurisdiction. So any rational company that anticipates ever exiting is better off to leave New Zealand shores.
Which is something I hate to be even thinking about it, because we love New Zealand. We love that we've made this huge impact on the New Zealand job market, on tech in New Zealand, and it's really unfortunate that that's the way that it is right now. And so,
I think I saw in your submission as well, you both plan to redeploy some of the capital back into other interest in New Zealand as well, and other companies and things like that as well. Yeah,
well, I mean, that would be that. We're both still interested in developing technological solutions to really interesting problems, and New Zealand would be the place that we would like to do that. But this kind of gives you pause for thought, like, well, would it be better to base something overseas, if there's going to be this kind of issue when you get to the point where you want to do something else?
Have you spoken to other people in tech in New Zealand about what's going on, or have other people got in touch with you about?
Yeah, people have shared their views, and most people are baffled by what's going on.
I'd go further than that, horrified.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, the effect is massively chilling on tech investment.
To support our award-winning independent journalism, subscribe to nbr.co.nz.